Welcome back, everybody. Today I'll be showing you my entire sneaker collection. Now, a quick note I want to stress before starting: this is not to flex by any means, but rather it's simply to be able to show you guys how passionate I really am about the culture of collecting sneakers, and that I'm not just a reseller despite primarily being a reseller. In fact, these are only my personal pairs, shoes that I've copped in my personal size and decided to keep to rock them on my own time. I didn't plan to do this now, but I've been forced to sell most of my shoes because unfortunately I do have to move. However, I did feel this would be a perfect time to show you guys my entire collection, or at least what's left, my favorites that I've decided to keep after selling the majority of my collection. Kicking it off, I want to start off with the Bred Elevens. Now, these are my favorite sneaker of all time. Not just aesthetically though, but primarily because they do have a lot of sentimental value to me. I don't want to go into the entire story because I know you guys are simply here to see my entire sneaker collection, but essentially, I learned a valuable lesson from these from when I was scammed. I was 13 years old when I first entered the sneaker game, and I made some stupid decisions. I gifted PayPal money to a guy. I never got anything in return, so unfortunately I did lose $200 then, but it was a valuable lesson in return, that of which I'm very grateful for. So there it is. Those are the Bred Elevens. This is my favorite shoe, and of course it's not the most hyped sneaker, but on the contrary, let's talk about my second favorite sneaker, which is extremely hyped. So here we have the Air Force One Off-White MCA. Now, evidently, this is extremely hyped. The shoe resells for over $2,000. Of course, though, that's not the reason I like it. Aesthetically, I think it's really awesome. I love loud shoes, but that's also not the reason I like it. The reason I like it is because of the sentimental value this shoe has. For those of you that remember how these did release, they did release via a sneaker stash. Those of you that do not know, I do run Endurance. Endurance is a group, and within Endurance, I do provide early info for sneakers drops, and one of them just happened to be this MCA, and so many people were able to get them, and the messages and the reactions I got after the great success it was, because everyone was prepared with an iTools group buy well in advance. It was just really an incredible feeling. It was a surreal feeling, to be honest. And I don't know, I just don't ever want to forget that day in my life. So no matter what I'm offered for this sneaker, I don't think I'll ever sell it. Moving on to the next one, we have the LeBron 10 Court. A lot of you OG sneakerheads who've been collecting for a significant period of time will certainly remember these. For those of you who are somewhat new, you might not remember these, but essentially, these used to be my favorite sneakers simply because I thought they looked really, really nice aesthetically. So I ended up saving a ton of money when I was really young just to finally be able to purchase these. They were going for around $400 or $500 at the time. I was selling candy out of my locker, and the day I got them. Moving on to the next one, we have the Big Bang foam posits. For those of you who don't know, these were not the first Galaxy foam posits. These are the Big Bangs, or Galaxy 2.0s, whatever you want to call them. When I was really young, I was obsessed with the original pair, but those go for like $1,000 or so. Fun fact, this is the only sneaker I've actually paid over retail for. I ended up paying $400 for these right after they released because I did take an L back in 2018 in February. I've obviously learned a lot since then, but it ended up turning out to be a W after all, considering I bought them for $400 and now they're going for around $700 to $800. So hey, you know what? It wasn't such a bad investment, even though I really do love the shoe, and specifically I love it just because I really love space. I'm obsessed with space. Moving on to the next one, we have the Sakai Waffle. This is one of the OG colorways, just the blue and red. The reason I kept this one, even though it's a hype sneaker, I ended up getting so many of these, and it was solely from Shoe Gallery. Shoe Gallery had a huge online drop, and they actually loaded a new set of links and variants. So because of that, it allowed those of us who did have the accurate links and variants to purchase a ton of these when they did release. So that's why I ended up keeping these despite them being pretty hyped. I usually don't like to hold on to too many hype sneakers, despite what you guys have already seen, but I'm more of, a simple guy who likes more cheaper sneakers. The only other Sakai that I still have left, and I don't think I'm going to wear it, I'll probably end up selling it, is just the white Sakai Blazer. Moving on to my favorite Jordan silhouette, we have the Jordan 1, specifically in this case, the Jordan 1 Bred. This is the 2016 pair. I think the leather on this pair is certainly much nicer than the 2013 pair, but you'll see a lot of Jordan 1s in my collection because the Jordan 1 is by far my favorite Jordan, and I love Jordans more than any other sneaker. So yeah, you'll definitely see a significant amount of these. Moving on, just trying to mix it up, we have the Yeezy 350 V2 Zebra. I used to have a ton of Yeezys. I'm talking about a ton of Yeezys, but I ended up selling most of them recently, specifically because they're just so oversaturated at this point, and I don't really care about that. I like general release and all, but I'm just not a huge fan of walking around with the same exact sneaker that every single person around me is wearing. I don't know. I like to be a little different. I like general releases because, you know, even though they're easy to get, not everyone tends to wear all of them all the time. Moving on, we have the JTH Jordan 3. This is the orange and brown colorway. Certainly very unique, hence I kept it. Moving on, we have a very hype sneaker that technically I only paid $120 for. This is the yellow Human Race. This is the OG Human Race Pharrell Williams sneaker. And the funny story of how I got these, I ended up trading for these. These were used at the time. And the person I was trading with had no idea that the Power Phase Yeezys had restocked. At the time, they were going for around $1,300. So because of that, he didn't know they restocked. And he ended up willing... And because of that, he was willing to do the trade for me. I, at the time, didn't know that he was unaware of them restocking. At least that's my hypothesis on why he wanted to do the trade. Because he had the Flight Club tabs and receipt and all that stuff. So they were certainly legit. I thought it was too good to be true for a second. But we ended up doing the trade because he really had no idea that the Power Phases didn't restock. He ended up hitting me back a week later asking to trade back. He didn't want to admit the reason he wanted to trade back. I guess the pride got the best of him. He ended up saying, I need a size lower in the Power Phase. But ironically, I did happen to have like 20 pairs of Power Phases at the time, so I offered that to him, and he just never responded. Moving on to the next one, we have another Yeezy 350 V2. I don't plan on holding on to this one. This is the Cream Yeezy. As I was talking about them before, you know, I just don't really like how they're so oversaturated at this point. Moving on to the next one, we have the SB Panda Pigeon. Unfortunately, no, this isn't the SB Pigeon that there were only 100 pairs made that sells for $9,000. No, this is just the SB Panda Pigeon, but it was still pretty cool because despite Jeff Staples saying that you would need a keychain in order to purchase these, well, we didn't. I did kind of feel bad purchasing these and exploiting Jeff's method, but you know, it is what it is. And I ended up getting a shoe that I really like because I do have somewhat of a background in skateboarding. For those of you who don't know, I do enjoy skateboarding and surfing on my free time. On to the next one, we have a Jordan 4, but not just any Jordan 4, specifically the Bred Jordan 4, or if you want to call them the Black Cement Jordan 4s. This is one of my favorites. It's been one of my favorites for a very long time in the Jordan 4. The only thing that would top this, in my opinion, would either be the Lightning 4s or perhaps the Toro 4s. Moving on, this is a Yeezy 350 Moonrock, so one of the first few Yeezys to have released. I'm not a huge fan of these, I'm not too crazy about them, but I did decide to keep them just because I know that there's not going to be any more of these that are going to be released in the future. I figure might as well hold on to them. Going back to Jordan 1s, here we have the Jordan 1 Shadows. This isn't one of my favorites, but it is very universal, matches all outfits, so as you can see, these are some beaters for me. I wear these practically every single day, all the time. Moving on, we have the Air Susan 1s. Now, the only reason I have not worn these yet, because I do think they look pretty cool, simply because I have no idea how to wear them. I'm not a big outfit guy. I mean, I wear black and white t-shirts that you could buy for $5 99% of the time. Here we have another Yeezy 350, one that I'm probably going to end up selling. This is the Yeezy 350 V2 Lundmark. Not too crazy about these, nothing too special. Moving on, another Jordan 1. This is the Jordan 1 Origin Story, or some of you may refer to them as the Jordan 1 SpiderMans. Ironically, as I'm making this video, just a few hours ago, they did release some exclusive access at 12 p.m. Eastern today. On to the next one, we have the CDG Air Force 1 in black and white. The only reason I ended up keeping these was because it was a Supreme collab, but it wasn't too obvious with a big Supreme label. I'm not a huge fan of, you know, trying to flex the brand or anything like that. This one was more subtle, and I really just enjoyed it because it had a unique design. I liked how the swoosh was cut in half and arranged differently than usual. I figured might as well keep them because they're only reselling for about $300 or so. Now, another Jordan 1. This is the Jordan 1 Bred Toe. I kept these dead stock for about a year, and after that, I just could not resist. These were just way too nice, especially on feet. If you guys have ever seen these on feet, they just look absolutely incredible. I mean, all Jordan 1s really do, to be honest. Moving on, this is the CR7 Air Force 1. Despite this not being my favorite sneaker, this is definitely my most complimented sneaker. If you've ever had someone go up to you and say, hey, those are some really nice sneakers, when it comes to this sneaker, it happens non-stop all the time. I don't know what it is. Perhaps it's the golden accents that really catches people's attention, but it really does get a lot of compliments. Here we have another classic. Now, of course, it's not extremely hyped, but this is definitely one of my favorites in my collection. I'm really trying to keep the soles icy, so I don't wear them too much. These are the Concord Elevens. Here we have another Yeezy 350, but unlike the others, this one is actually quite unique, specifically because this one does so happen to glow in the dark, which I personally think is pretty awesome. Moving on, we have another classic. This is one of my favorites in my collection. This is the Jordan 6 Infrared. Now, I definitely like this pair much better than the 2014 pair, I believe it was. That pair just looked a little too pink in my opinion. It was more on the infrared side in comparison to on the red side, which I like a lot more. I think they did this one perfectly. It wasn't completely red, but it wasn't pink like the 2014 pair, so I'm a big fan of this one. Moving on to Travis Scott, we have a Travis Scott Jordan 4. This one is by far my favorite Travis Scott collaboration. Now, I told myself when I had the highs, because I really like the highs as well, if I had to keep one, because they're both very, very expensive, was it going to be the 4s or was it going to be the 1s? And I ended up getting rid of all my 1s, specifically because I really, really do like these 4s, and, you know, they're a whole different ball game. The 1s kind of look like an average sneaker aside from the backwards swoosh. These 4s, on the other hand, they just really do pop, and they really do break necks. Speaking of neck breakers, next up we have the Holi Festival Human Races. Obviously, these are not hyped at all, but I do really like these just because they do get a lot of attention. On to the next, we got another Jordan 1. This is the Jordan 1 Turbo Green. Definitely not my favorite Jordan 1, but it's still pretty nice, and they go really nice with jeans. On to the next one, we have the Alpha Edge 4D in white. I use this sneaker to go running very frequently, and also, for those of you who don't know, I do a lot of martial arts, so I specifically use these when I do Muay Thai on my own time. They're not the most comfortable sneakers. I think Ultra Boost might be the most comfortable sneakers, but they are very, very good for athletic wear. Moving on, we have another Jordan 1. These are the Jordan 1 Court Purples. Now, I can't exactly decide if I like these Jordan 1 Court Purples more, or on the other hand, which released just alongside them, if I like the Jordan 1 Pine Green more. Personally, I think I might have to go with the Pine Green, but they're both very, very nice colorways, and they do stand out. And if you're trying to dress like Offset from Ric Flair Drip, you might want to wear both. Moving on, we have another Yeezy 350 V2. This is the Yeezy 350 V2 Black. If I had to choose one Yeezy 350 out of all of them to keep, it would certainly be this one. On to the next, another classic, which is one of my favorites in my collection. This is the Jordan 3 Black Cement. I still can't decide if I like the black cements better or the white cements better, so feel free to let me know in the comments which ones you prefer, or just in general, which ones in this entire video are your personal favorites, or your personal favorites of all time. Moving on, this is the only 700 that I kept in my collection. This is the Yeezy 700 Wave Runner, solely because I think that the colors are really wild. They are certainly going to be breaking some necks, not because of the hype, obviously because they're not very hyped at all anymore. Moving on, here's another pair of Jordan 4s. Obviously, this is not very hyped at all. In fact, I ended up getting these only because they were on sale for such a good price. I believe I only paid something like $80 for these, so I had to pick them up just because I really did feel like they looked very, very nice in person. Moving on for another Jordan 1, this is the Jordan 1 Royal. This sneaker is always going to hold a very special place in my heart just because I used this sneaker for an unboxing, which was my very first video on my channel, which started it all. Without it, I don't know where I'd be right now. Moving on, this is the What the KD 6. Now, when I was younger and I was first getting into sneakers when I was 13 and 14 years old, Nike basketball was really big, and this was one of the most hyped basketball sneakers at the time. It was going for around $300 to $400. And just recently, like 3 years ago or so, I found these on Facebook. Someone was trying to get rid of them for only $90. So I picked them up just for the nostalgia of it. Moving on for another pair of Yeezy 350s. This is the Clay 350. Again, nothing too special about these. Now, these are pretty cute, and these are certainly very unique. These are the SB Dunks Walk the Dogs. If you actually look at the sole of these, it has a little brown imprint. I'm sure you could imagine what that's supposed to be. Anyway, I thought these were pretty cute. I don't think that they're super nice or anything, obviously. I just figured might as well keep them, just, you know, something nice to put on the shelf. Sure, a lot of you guys could relate when I say this, but sneakers do really resonate with a lot of people in regards to their memories. And, you know, it's because we end up wearing them or how we end up purchasing them in certain circumstances. And because of that, we end up holding on to certain ones for sentimental value. This would be another prime example, these blue tints. This was the very first live stream I ever did. I had around 1,100 subscribers or so. I ended up doing a 27-hour stream on how to cop these. I was helping a ton of people try to get these manually, those who couldn't afford bots, and I ended up doubling my subscribers or something within those 27 hours, and it was certainly one of the best days of my life. Moving on, these are just the red Air Max 1s. Personally, despite them being not hyped at all, I think these are one of the nicest Air Maxes to have ever came out. In fact, I think these are pretty essential if you want to be a sneaker collector. If you ever saw that 1980s commercial with these are just so iconic. This colorway specifically on the Air Max 1. If you're an Air Max collector or just a sneaker collector in general, I think these are pretty essential in your collection. Moving on to another Jordan 1. This is the Jordan 1 Rookie of the Year. Definitely a nice sneaker with very nice details, such as when you pull the flaps on the neck of the Jordan 1, you could see the writing on the inside. Moving on, these are the Jordan 11 Low Cool Grays. Unfortunately, I wasn't collecting sneakers when the highs or the mids, you could say, first came out in 2011 or 2010 maybe was it. But these are the next best thing, I guess you could say. I'm happy enough with these. I'm satisfied. Now here we have another Jordan 1. These are the Jordan 1 Crimsons. Orange is actually my favorite color, so I could not pass up on adding the orange laces to these. Here's just a pair of the Customizable Ultra Boost. Nothing crazy, just a nice sneaker that I use to frequently go on runs with. Moving on, these are the Windlike 82s. Personally, I like the Windlike 96s more, so I'm a little disappointed in myself that I sold those. I'll probably end up selling these as well. But yeah, they're still pretty nice. Moving on, these are janitor sneakers and nothing more. If you were to become a janitor, hypothetically, you would wear these. Moving on, another Jordan 1. These are the Jordan 1 New York City to Parises. Not gonna lie, I really like the other pair much more, the LA to Chicago's, but I was just way too scared to tamper with them because they were obviously worth significantly more than these. Moving on, nothing too special, just Air Max 97 Golds. I frequently use these when I go to the gym. And the same exact thing goes for the Silver Metal Ultra Boost. These used to be extremely hyped until Adidas did restock them when they had already been losing hype for a significant period of time. But by far, this is my favorite Ultra Boost of all time. Moving on, these are the acronym Prestos. This was one of the three I ended up deciding to keep just because they are so unique, they're so wild. Certainly some neck breakers. Moving on, just another pair of Yeezys. This is the Yeezy 700 in gray. Not the OG pair. This is the pair with the gum bottom. And they do actually glow in the dark, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Moving on, this is the Off-White Blazer Grim Reaper. As you can see, I didn't really keep too much hype. I tend to sell most of it specifically because I don't like holding something that's worth a ton of money, especially if I don't love it. But this one, on the other hand, I really did like. In fact, I even decided to put some custom laces on these. So these orange and green laces I did actually have to buy separately. On to the next one. This is the only other Travis Scott pair I decided to keep. Like I was mentioning before, I just thought the Jordan 1s were just worth way too much money to hold on to. But these, on the other hand, I did decide to hold on to, especially because I had already worn them. This is the very first Travis Scott collaboration, the Air Force 1 in white, not sale. Moving on, these are the Para Air Max 1s. Definitely one of my favorite colorways on the Air Max 1. I don't think I like these as much as the red pair, but these are certainly up there. Moving on, these are the LeBron 8 South Beaches. These are what started the entire South Beach LeBron hype. And personally, I really do believe that these are the best. When I was growing up and I was first getting into sneakers, these were definitely one of my favorites. Here we have another pair of Jordan 1s. This is the Jordan 1 Shattered Backboard 3.0. Unfortunately, I don't have the first one or the second one that came out, but I do have this third one because it wasn't going for too much money, and orange is my favorite colorway, so I did decide to keep this one. Then another Jordan 1, a very, very underrated Jordan 1 in my opinion. Perhaps it won't be so underrated in a few years from now, but this is the Fearless Jordan 1 UNC to Chicago. I think these are extremely nice, regardless of the patent leather or not. I just think that the colorway is really great. I just think that the colorway is absolutely terrific. I love wearing these. They do certainly catch attention. And moving on, these are the Benji Dunks. Nothing too crazy about these, not so hyped anymore, but I do think these look absolutely incredible. very, very nice, great detail on these all around. Anyway, that'll conclude it for my collection. Obviously, it's not the biggest collection, certainly not the best collection. There's much better on YouTube, but I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse because I am a collector. Although I would consider myself a reseller first, I do like to keep pairs here and there, and as you can see, I built up a pretty decent sized collection over the years, even though I primarily focus on reselling. So I do hope you guys enjoyed, and I do hope that one day your collections will be even bigger than mine, whether you decide to focus on reselling more or just collecting. Feel free to leave a like if you did enjoy, and also subscribe and turn on post notifications so you guys can learn how to cop sneakers for retail, resell them, make some profit, and with that profit, build your own sneaker collection. So feel free to join me on this journey by subscribing, turning on post notifications, and with that, I'll see you guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your day.
And I can't walk. You hit me so hard, I don't want to talk. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot. Yeah.
Why are you always in my way? Knocking me over every single day. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.
Get your foot off my foot. Yeah.
I should have run the other way. Now there's just one thing to say. Get your foot off my foot. Ah.